Today, we woke up to shocking news in Kenya as the cost of petrol and diesel reaches unprecedented levels. This has left Kenyans grappling with the heavy burden of high fuel prices, impacting their daily lives and the economy as a whole. But here's the real conundrum. Kenya, a nation rich in oil resources, has been mining and exporting oil. Yet, the cost of oil within the country keeps soaring higher and higher. Today, we delve deep into this paradox, exploring suspicions of corruption and state capture of oil fields and wells, as well as the involvement of prominent Kenyan political figures in the oil industry. Kenya's journey with oil exploration began back in the 1950s when companies like BP and Shell started surveying and even drilling some wells in the Lamu Basin. However, it wasn't until 2012 that commercially viable oil deposits were discovered by Tullow Oil in the South Lockachar Basin within the Tertiary Rift Basin. This discovery was truly groundbreaking, marking the second major oil find in the East African Rift System after Uganda. Since 2012, over 86 wells have been drilled across Kenya's four major sedimentary basins: Lamu, Tertiary Rift, Mandera, and Anza. The most promising has been the Tertiary Rift, where Tullow estimates a massive 4 billion barrels of oil reserves, with about 750 million barrels being recoverable. Just to put that into perspective, 750 million barrels would be worth around $75 billion at today's oil prices. Other major discoveries include over 100 meters of net oil pay at the Ngamia-1 well, and major gas discoveries in the offshore Lamu Basin, including the Sunbird-1 and Mabala-1 wells. Clearly, Kenya is sitting on vast oil and gas wealth just waiting to be developed. However, despite these world-class discoveries, Kenya is yet to reach full field development and commercial production. The early oil pilot scheme initiated in 2018 has seen some small-scale trucking of crude oil from Turkana to Mombasa, but volumes remain minimal. Just last month, Kenya exported its first 200,000 barrels of crude to China. But again, this is a drop in the ocean compared to the vast reserves discovered. So why is commercial production taking so long? Well, the oil companies and government have cited the need for proper planning, infrastructure development, environmental approvals, and favorable fiscal terms before full field development can begin. The Turkana oil is waxy and requires heating and dilution before it can be transported through a pipeline. Hundreds of kilometers of pipelines need to be laid from Turkana to Lamu Port to facilitate evacuation and exports. The government and Tullow Oil say that if all goes according to plan, commercial production could begin in 2024, a full 12 years after discovery. By then, Kenya could be joining the ranks of Africa's major oil exporters, generating estimated revenues of $1.5 billion per year. However, as we wait for that day to arrive, the reality for the ordinary Kenyan is that fuel prices continue to rise unabated. Just last night, super petrol crossed the psychological 200 shilling per liter barrier, causing public outcry. Diesel and kerosene likewise hit historic highs. Now, you would expect that with Kenya making all these oil discoveries, fuel prices would start to come down. But the opposite is happening. In fact, fuel prices have more than doubled in the past 10 years, even as Tullow has been appraising its finds. This begs the question, where lies the benefit for the common citizens from Kenya's oil boom? Taxes and levies on fuel continue to rise. The VAT on petrol increased from 8% to 16% last budget and finance bill, which was bulldozed into implementation. The government removed subsidies at a time when international oil prices were skyrocketing. Political leaders continue to pay lip service to the plight of ordinary Kenyans when it comes to the high cost of fuel and other basic commodities. And yet, we now hear reports that prominent leaders and business elites were allocated shares in the South Lockachar oil blocks during the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta, who repeatedly told us how in charge he was. Yes, the same blocks whose development is delayed and whose costs are passed on to the consumers. Kenyan motorists are paying for the development of these oil fields through high pump prices, but won't see the benefits for years to come. In fact, there are allegations that most political class bought Tullow shares moments before the company announced oil discovery back in 2012. That is what is known as inside trading. Before the Kenyan oil was brought to surface, it was already subdivided among the haves. There are even whispers that the delays in full field development could be deliberate to allow the wells to continue producing at a minimal level for the benefit of the local elites who now have stakes in them. Claims are being made that the petroleum ministry is compromised and not fully committed to negotiating the best deal for the country. Meanwhile, other mineral resources are also generating considerable revenues, but again, it is not clear that these earnings are being equitably shared for national development. Kenya is now the 7th largest producer of soda ash in the world, extracting millions of tons per year. Titanium mining at the coast is also ongoing. But have these new mining activities translated to better services and infrastructure for the people? In Turkana itself, expectations were high that oil production would lead to rapid socio-economic development in the marginalized region. But 5 years after the initial discovery, the people of Turkana are still waiting for the dividend. The early oil scheme provides some employment, but the countrywide benefits are not yet visible. So in summary, ordinary Kenyans are justified to ask where is the change that was promised with the discovery of oil? Fuel prices at the pump continue to oppress the population even as billions of barrels of oil lie beneath Turkana waiting for evacuation one day. From a public policy perspective, it is simply not adding up that Kenya can discover so much oil and start exporting, yet the local prices seem detached from these developments. The government needs to do more to convince the nation that Kenya's oil, mineral, and natural wealth will be managed prudently for the benefit of every citizen, not just a privileged few. More transparency is required in licensing of exploration fields and public participation in deciding how revenues will be shared and utilized, including through county governments. It is the responsibility of the new administration under President Ruto to ensure the oil discoveries translate to lower fuel costs for motorists and consumers. The Petroleum Ministry must expedite commercialization timelines to start reaping the fruits sooner rather than later. We expect nothing less from a government that pledged lower cost of living as one of its key agendas. The coming years will be pivotal in shaping whether Kenya leverages its oil wealth to transform into an industrialized, middle-income nation or falls victim to the resource curse witnessed in other African countries. Let us hold leaders accountable to ensure every Kenyan feels the positive impact. There are no shortcuts, but with honest leadership focused on equitably sharing resources, the oil boom can and should catalyze national renewal. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.
We hope this was informative and entertaining for you. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share our videos. This will go far in helping us make better videos. Until next time, keep twitting and achieving your dreams. Don't let anything put you down. Bye for now.